Hello and welcome to the Boss Battle Podcast and this Spoilercast for Doctor Strange. I'm your host James, and with me today I've got Carl.
Hello.
I've got Chris.
Hello.
And for her first time on the podcast we have Vicky.
Hello.
We have literally just come out of the cinema screening of Doctor Strange, the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is our Spoilercast of the film. We'll be covering absolutely everything about the film, all the plot, the characters, the ending, the post-credits. So if you haven't seen the film and you plan to see it, it's probably best to turn this off now and maybe come back later on and see if we share those views with you and your opinions of the film. To start us off though, I'm going to hand over to Chris, our resident movie review man, to give us his first impressions. What did you think of the film?
So, from my perspective going in, the point I was at was I was expecting... to be honest, I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know anything about the origin of the character. So I was going in almost with like a blank canvas. And in terms of the origin story so far in the Marvel films, they haven't hit a bum note yet. They've kept a really high level. So at some point, the law of averages, I was always expecting that they'd dip below that level. And the pleasing thing is they haven't on this film. So this film I really enjoyed. Thought they, again, kept it fresh, kept it interesting, had a lot of humour in it. Some really inventive action sequences, a really good lead character. I did read before going into the film that it was the first time Marvel have delayed a film specifically for an actor, so it should have been filmed quite a lot earlier, but because they were determined to make it with Benedict Cumberbatch, they delayed the whole sequence of filming and the whole process because they couldn't fit it in with this original schedule. I think it's testament to that casting really, that it's still turned out really well, even though there's been a big production delay, and it kind of justifies them waiting for it, because I thought he was brilliant, being the centre of the film and kind of carrying it on his shoulders. Really enjoyed it.
I thought he was really good, but I didn't think he wouldn't be. I don't think I've seen anything that I didn't like him in, except for Zoolander 2, which is not his fault. That film is just shit.
I've not seen that yet.
Don't waste the 90 minutes or whatever it is of your life. It's absolutely terrible. Completely off topic, but it is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I thought the worst film I'd ever seen was Nativity, Dude, Where's My Donkey, which was the third one in that series. Don't watch that either. But no, this was actually worse, Zoolander 2. Not this film, Doctor Strange. I thought it was brilliant. I really liked Doctor Strange. Thought the characters were great.
Off topic.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it personally. I completely agree with you. I know I read the same thing about them delaying it for you. Didn't notice how that caused any problems in terms of the timeline though, because they still stitched it in neatly to the previous Marvel films. We saw Avengers Tower earlier on, very briefly. I know you giggled as I pointed it out, I think. We had, what else do we have? We had the reference to not Iron Man, the other one, War Machine, and his injury from the back of Civil War. So that was very briefly mentioned, although it wasn't mentioned by name, which I thought was really clever.
That point that you didn't, Chris?
You did.
I was kind of expecting after they'd mentioned that piece of that surgery option, I expected the other ones to link in. I'm not sure if they do, and we just don't know it.
Yeah,
I
thought that. I was trying to work out who they were talking about because I think there was another bullet in a spine or something.
Yeah, they mentioned someone.
And I didn't see anything there either.
So it's probably worth mentioning that at the beginning of the film, we've got Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Doctor Strange, is a doctor, highly praised. What's his official title? Neurosurgeon. That's it. So he's very arrogant, clearly rich. Picks and chooses the clients who will make him look good. He's all about impressing people, isn't he? Making himself look good.
He doesn't want to risk killing them.
Yeah, he's not interested.
He did say in his card, didn't he?
If it sounds risky, he won't do it because he wants that 100% record, doesn't he?
That's it. He's 100% record.
And then at that point, obviously, he has his huge accident, his Lambo, which crushes his hands, and it gives basically...
Nice slow motion shooting.
It was quite clever the way they showed his hands getting crumpled in the bonnet to display that. And then obviously, as a result of that, obviously he loses his powers. He loses his what makes him a good neurosurgeon. He hasn't got any powers at that point. And then he tries everything with sort of Western medicine. Goes on
7 operations, I think they said.
Something like that was it. To try and figure all sorts of weird experimental stuff to try and give him the feeling back in his hands that he once had. And then he goes off travelling, doesn't he, to try and find it in more obscure medicine. And what's the name of the place? Can anyone remember the name of the place?
Kathmandu.
No, that was where he went to. What was the name of that?
I want to say Khaleesi.
It made me hungry, thinking of katsu curry, to be honest.
Katsu curry. Yeah, he went to katsu curry to get his hands fixed. I think what was it called?
Khaleesi or something like that.
I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember of the main bad guy's name, but I can't remember his name now either.
It's only been like 20
years.
I know,
Le Chiffre.
Yeah, Le Chiffre. Vicky's not going to get
Terrible
that.
mystical.
She doesn't watch Bond films.
I don't like Bond
We could
films,
call him
I'm so
Hannibal,
sorry.
can't we?
Oh, and you're
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, you could call
disinvited
him-
from this
I might as well
podcast.
go now.
I'm sorry, we're not
sorry
talking
about that.
movies with someone who doesn't like Bond films. Out you go.
You've never seen the Bond films, so what did you think?
I actually liked it, but I wasn't. It didn't excite me like all other Marvel films where I loved the grit of it. All the Marvel films, I've always got really interested. I could watch over and over again. Most films I probably watched about 10 times. But this film, I wouldn't really be bothered if I didn't watch it again. I thought it was-
Really?
Yeah.
I genuinely want to see it again now.
I thought it was
it's
good, but it's not something I'll be like, oh, I need to see again. Definitely.
Is that because you don't know as much as the characters as what you do the others?
Not really. I just didn't think the story didn't really catch me as much. I thought it was quite, compared to other Marvel films where there's a lot of dips up and down, this just had, it was very monotone. I don't think it really escalated or even dipped.
It was a throwback a little bit to earlier films.
Oh, yeah.
It was that, so like you said earlier, it was that Origins film.
Yeah.
Whereas we haven't really had that for quite a long time now because we've been introduced, apart from Ant-Man, which was a very different kind of film.
Yeah.
We've been introduced to all the other characters. Movies ago now, we've had sequels and then we've had Avengers get-togethers and Civil War, and we've seen a lot of those characters now. They're well established, and we haven't had to be introduced to someone again for quite a while. And it was more than just a character, wasn't it? It was this whole concept of manipulating space and time and dimensions, and that's all. I think also something completely new to Marvel. We've had little rips in space where some aliens come through, but we haven't really gone too wild from that. Even Asgard feels a little bit more grounded than the Inception kind of style action we were getting in this.
Yeah.
The twist. I mean, there was a couple of scenes. Obviously, it's heavily reliant on CG. There were a couple of scenes during that big battle with the Sheaf. We can
Yeah.
remember We've got. It's not Khaleesi. You've got that in my head now. So it was something like.
It was
Caleb
something like that.
Caleb something. We'll find it. We'll Google it.
Yeah.
But that particular scene where they were fighting and all of New York was twisted into these random cubes and shapes.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool, but it did make me think of Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard to follow
definitely.
as well.
Yeah.
You're like, bloody hell, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
They've got a lot to introduce, haven't they, I suppose, when you think about it. They've got to give you Doctor Strange and all of his backstory. I like how they went from having this sort of arrogant guy to... He never really loses the arrogance. But
And that's
he
what I
becomes,
mean. It doesn't really change his personality, really.
No.
He's still the same
Yeah.
person, just with...
I suppose he accepts his
hours now.
responsibility, though, doesn't he, of doing
It's
more.
just come back to me. It's Caecilius.
Just come back
I
to
don't
by the
think
power
he
of the
accepts
internet.
it. I think he
I know
just...
that's cool.
I don't think he accepts like his responsibility. I think he's more forced into that responsibility. He knows he couldn't really go back to his old life now, so he's kind of forced into a situation like, wow, I can be a hero in a different way. So he's not really losing that arrogance.
That might not necessarily be a bad thing, though. I quite like... I already came out of the film thinking I'd like to see him and Tony Stark on screen together. I'd like to see that
Yeah,
interaction.
definitely.
I could just see a little bit of a quirk about their
Some
goatees.
sort of goatee comment, yeah. And I think we'll get to the spoilers, not the spoilers, sorry, the actual post credits a little bit later on. But already the idea that he might appear in Ragnarok appeals to me. The idea of seeing him alongside Thor and maybe even Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. I think he'd be a good character. I like Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, I really like. Have you seen Sherlock?
Yeah, I have
Okay,
to.
that's good. So you have at least seen that.
Yeah.
I really liked him in that personally, and I
Yeah,
think
he's
there was a little bit of his arrogance.
Yeah.
In this, I thought, as Doctor Strange.
Ironically, I thought the soundtrack had echoes of the soundtrack to Sherlock.
Did you really?
Some
I was
of-
thinking
in
Matrix
some,
for me
in some
personally.
of the sounds, the sort of
I didn't
chimes
really
and
hear
things
much
like
of the
that.
sounds, to
Yeah,
be
the chimes and things like that.
I always thought when they were fighting and
Sherlock.
battling, there was a lot of the sort of a lot of the sounds you saw in the latter Matrix films when they were battling in the sort of Agent Smith fights. There was that.
The
I
fight
don't know, it
scenes
felt a lot like that.
sort of annoyed me to a certain
I
extent.
found them
I enjoyed them
boring.
bits.
No, I didn't find them boring, but it's a lot to do with a lot of the Marvel choreography. It's especially with like them using the magic and stuff. There's just sparks everywhere, so I can't actually see what the characters are doing. I can just see the sparks that are coming off them
Yeah.
to a certain extent, especially with that one.
You distracted
So-
by the pretty lights.
Yeah,
basically.
You're like a fly.
Yeah,
Ooh,
like
the
a moth.
light. I thought I thought there was a bit with the. I think it was the ancient one, which is the sort
Tilda
guess we
Swinton's character.
Is that the lady's name?
Yeah.
I mean, just I guess for context, she's the one who gives or teaches Doctor Strange the ways, but also then becomes the sort of reason for a big twist in the film later on when she's outed, I suppose, as using dark dark matter, isn't she? The thing, or dark magic, the thing that she's trying to.
Dark dimension.
She's teaching them
Yeah.
the powers from the dark dimension. She's
dimension.
battling against that. But then it's found out that she's actually been using that to keep herself young and to sort of.
See, I
fight
actually
that
like that bit, to find out someone who's supposed to be the superior person
Yeah.
is actually kind of faulted herself. I did like that flaw.
I was going to say I like the bit when she first had. I don't know. Was she fighting? I'm trying to think if she was fighting an enemy, or whether she was just showing off. But there was a bit where she first started flinging around those weapons in hand. The sort of not the weapons, but the sort of like you were saying, the fireworks, if you like.
Yeah.
She had those. She had them,
Wheels.
and they were made to sound like sort of big, heavy metal sort of blades, and she was spinning them round. And there was, I don't know, there's a bit early on. I think it was. I don't even think she was fighting anyone.
Yeah, I think she was fighting that
it was-
Caecilius and his men.
might
They
have
had
been
names. I can't remember what they were now.
men and women.
Well,
Some
men
of them
and
were women.
yes.
Yeah, I thought there was a couple of scenes where they were doing that, and I thought that combat was really cool. I liked
Yeah.
the sort of those sort of shields and weapons they were building out of it. I quite liked that. I never quite understood the ones that, what do we call him? Caecilius.
Yeah.
Caecilius.
Is those sort of fragmented blades he was building.
Yeah, they look like
They were
icicles
strange.
to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were quite odd.
Mattered.
But
things that
it was just to show he was
manipulate.
using a different power, wasn't
Yeah,
it? A different
yeah.
magic. I really liked it when Doctor Strange later in the film is wielding there's another name I can't remember now. Agamento, was it? Was that the name of the
Yeah, Eye of Agamotto.
or whatever it's called?
Yeah,
Was it
Eye of
Agamotto? That was
Agamotto.
called. That one, I thought that sort of the way they built that timepiece around
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
really cool.
Very
I
clever.
really like that.
I didn't even click that it was the Infinity Stone until
I
they
didn't-
literally said it's the
You
Infinity
did
Stone.
not.
I
I didn't know.
literally,
I
as
was
soon as
not
it opened
thinking
up,
about an Infinity
Yeah, as
Stone
soon
or
as I
Infinity
saw
War.
it.
I was just thinking
As
about
soon as
the
it
film.
opened up, I turned to Lee and went Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
Like, it's got, you had to be. It's the time
Yeah,
stone
of
to
course, yeah.
of all of his
It's one of the
stones.
ones
It's,
we
it's the
haven't
one we
come
haven't
across
seen. So I think, yeah. So again, this is a spoiler cast, so it makes sense that we spoil it. But the necklace or whatever it is, he
Eye of
steals and
Agamotto.
wears the Eye of Agamotto, whatever you call it.
Agamato, yeah.
Oh God.
Tomato.
Obviously, when this sort of necklace opens up, it reveals a glowing stone. It's revealed later in the film, right at the end of the film, that it's the Infinity Stone. That he needs to learn how to control it. So that's your obvious link back in then to the Infinity War, isn't it? Which will be interesting to see
Yeah.
how they bring him into that, because I mean,
Well,
they're
there
going
have been
off
so
track.
many of them in
I'm
there.
kind of assuming at some point. I mean, bear in mind, we've got how many movies we've got left now to the Infinity Wars? We've got Thor Ragnarok. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man. I can't see Spider-Man touching on the Infinity War.
No,
No.
neither can
I think
I.
that's going to sit separately. But Guardians and Thor presumably will.
Yeah.
In those films, at some point, we've got to get to a bit close to a point where Thanos actually has one of these bloody stones.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, he hasn't got anything. So,
Unless
I know
they're just
there's-
literally going to say he's going to put the Infinity Stone on and all these orbs are just going to go to the
but if
level.
that was the case, why would you send Loki out to steal one? Why
Well,
would you
yeah.
have all these people trying to get hold of them? It just seems an odd thing to do.
I think Thanos is just really lazy.
Yeah, but I just feel like at some point one of these films has got to empower him in some way they haven't so far. Because at the moment, I know there's going to be 2 Infinity War films, so perhaps Infinity Wars 1 is going to do that, and Infinity Wars 2 will be the back of the ends. I don't know, but I just feel like at some point he's got to start building his gauntlet, because so far he's failed to get any of the stones.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Vision as well, because obviously that stone powers him to a certain extent.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's it. They've presumably got to kill him off if he's going to assemble the gauntlet.
yeah.
They've got to, haven't they? Or they'll tear it out of him and he'll stay alive and he'll be powered by something else. They'll find a way around it. But if they take it off him,
arc reactor.
yeah, well, it's just odd, isn't it? I don't know how they're going to do that, because at the moment, where are the Infinity Stones? So we've got we've just found out the time one is with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So
And
he's
it's all
got
you
that
have.
one's Agatamato. So that one's somewhere in one of their Sanctum Sanctorums, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Sanctuary?
Oh, I don't know what they're called. That place where they keep things. We've got one with the Guardians. One's with the Collector, isn't it? The purple one is with the Collector from the Guardians film.
Yeah.
The ether, yeah.
The blue one is also with the Collector, is it?
Yeah, it is.
He's got the 2, hasn't he?
He's got-
Vision's got the one on his head. So
Yeah,
we're missing
one
one more stone. So is that Thor Ragnarok going to develop that last one? Will Ragnarok be the final stone?
Guess we'll find out, won't we?
Looking forward to
That's
finding
why
out.
it's
I'm really
leading
looking
to,
forward to it.
really.
Because Guardians, they've already said Guardians has got nothing to do with the Infinity Stones, the second one.
Oh, okay.
They've already said that. That's already been announced. They're going down the route of, I think, it's his origins, isn't it?
So his dad and
Star-Lord's
stuff,
dad.
yeah.
And Stallone's in the next one. He's not the dad, but
Is he?
Stallone's in the next one. And who's the other one that's in it? Who is his dad? Oh, God. Escape from New York. Snake Plissken.
Kurt Russell.
Yes, that's his dad. I'm crap with names. Yeah, that's completely off track anyway. Doctor Strange. Sorry.
Yes.
So I think we've all agreed. Well, no, we didn't all agree we liked it because you didn't like it.
I
which is
did like it.
odd.
I did like it, and I probably will watch the next one. But I was the same with which one was it? Captain America, the first one. That's one I did not repeat. I watched it once and I was like, right.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people have not watched that more than once. Really.
I've watched it a couple
I've watched
of times.
it a couple of times.
I wasn't as bothered. Although
But it's kind of
ironically,
irrelevant, isn't it? Because that all happened in the past and he's now in the future, so
But
you don't really need to watch
that
it.
was his origin, though, wasn't it? The same,
Yeah.
same as Thor. I mean,
Yeah.
Thor 1 was good and Thor 2 was bad, which is the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Iron Man 1 was good, Iron Man 2 was not as good. Iron Man 3, I don't know. People like Iron Man 3, I wasn't that bothered, I thought it was okay.
think it was average.
But yeah, and it's the first one of the origins where, well, it's not the first. I suppose Captain America people didn't necessarily get on board with, but you had to have it. It was necessary
Yeah.
evil, wasn't it? You had to have it. I still enjoyed it as a film, and I really like Red Skull. I wish they'd bring him back. And they need to bring him back for me because he was a really good bad guy. They could bring him back because we don't know where he went. He just got sucked up by the power cube, didn't
He
he?
could have just gone to another dimension.
He could be anywhere. They could bring him back quite easily. I'd like them to bring him back because I thought he was a really good bad guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do another I don't know his name thing again. Agent Smith.
Hugo
Hugo Weaving.
Weaving.
Yeah, the elf dude. Elven man, Ed Elven man. He could come back. Now I think it'd be good to bring him back in as the Red Skull and bring him back up again. It could be a good way to finish Captain America off if they need to kill him off at some point. They give you the motivation.
Which they have done in the comics, haven't they?
They need to at some point because he doesn't want to do it anymore, does he?
We'll see. They all say that.
They say that until
though.
the
It's all. It's all.
They've all said it at one point,
Negotiations,
haven't they?
isn't it?
They've
Yeah.
all said it at
Liam
one
Hemsworth
point.
didn't want to do the training again. Oh, but he's ripped again.
Yeah.
And he's massive and he's doing it again. Although in
I think Tony Stark didn't want to do it either because he didn't want to be typecast, and
But then apparently he increased his presence in Civil War and made the film much more about him than it was going to be.
Yeah,
Probably because it made his paycheck bigger.
exactly.
Anyway. What would you give it then, really quick round table before we talk any more about it? What would you give it out of 5?
I'd give it 4.
I'm going 4 as well.
3.
I'd stick with 4. I think I'd agree with 4. Must be a girl thing, Vicky.
It's not a girl thing. I did like it. It's just not. Didn't excite me like all the other Marvel films at all.
What did you think of the Ancient One?
I like that character. I did.
We're opposed again. That was my one gripe. I didn't really like it.
Because like I said, I like the fact that she was just so superior to everyone else, and she's the one teaching them how to be good, blah blah blah. But she had a flaw, and that's what I liked. That even though she had a flaw, she was actually still technically good. She done it for a reason.
It's interesting. I don't really like her. I think she's creepy.
I think
she's meant to be creepy though.
Yeah, she's. Am I getting her confused? Again, this is an actress name thing. Is she the creepy one out of Lord of the Rings, or is that not her?
Thought
No, it's not.
No, it's
It's
not.
not the same.
She was the
Which
angel
king or
from
which
Constantine. You know, at the end, she was the angel from Constantine. I
yes.
can't remember which one.
I just I get her mixed up with the one from.
No, she's not the one from.
The Witch
Lord
of the
of the Rings.
Forest, whatever
Yeah,
she's
the
called.
one-
Oh, no,
What?
Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Kate Blanchett? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They
wasn't-
look a little bit alike.
Yeah, they do.
The thing with apparently, and I don't know that. I think any of us really knew much about Doctor Strange going into it, but the Ancient One, there was a lot of controversy about this whole whitewashing of the movie because apparently the Ancient One should have been a Far Eastern race, and I think it's a dude as well. I think they did change that character up quite dramatically to make it her. And
I think it
there
works.
was a lot of people
I
saying,
think it definitely works.
yeah, but you do think
she
that if you're going to go all the way to Nepal, and then you're going to be met with a white woman, why was she not?
I like that twist.
Yeah.
That's what.
Not even the woman thing. I mean, I just think why was she not of the race that she was in the comics? Why change that? That seems like a strange thing to do to me.
I think that helps with the story because that helps with the film because at the beginning when he's there and he first sees her, he kind of disbelieves her.
Well, he goes
away.
to
He
goes to the
play-
typical
He does go to
So it
the
doesn't
standard
play that.
generic
It just helps with the
True.
film.
old Asian looking man, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah, maybe does. Yeah. And it's interesting because the same people who were bemoaning that, again just off the internet, were the people that were then moaning that they didn't change the origins of the is it Iron Fist? No. The new Netflix series. What's his name?
Oh, Luke Cage.
No, the one that comes after that. The last member of the
Yeah, Iron Fist.
team.
Yeah,
Iron Fist.
yeah,
They were because he is a white dude.
yeah.
And there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, this was the option. They could have actually changed the origins and made him Asian." I'm like, hang on, you can't be moaning that they changed the origins of someone to something that didn't suit your needs, but then when you want them to make it
Yeah.
You moan about not changing it. That was an odd one.
Well, I think that contrast with Iron Fist would work better to the fact that he's like this martial arts guy, but he's not Asian.
Yeah,
sort of way.
That's the whole point of his character, I think.
Yeah.
So it'd be a strange one to change him. But anyway, did you think Le Chiffre was any good?
Yeah, I thought he was a good bad guy.
A bit underused, actually.
Yeah, he didn't really have much dialogue,
Yeah.
which he doesn't really in any of his characters. He has a couple of things to say, and then he just does something.
I thought his first interaction with Doctor Strange was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he calls him Mr. and he goes Doctor and he goes
Yeah.
Mr. Doctor. He goes,
Yeah.
No, you see like Strange. He's like it is a bit unusual.
Yeah.
That was a really clever little bit. That was. And I did like the humour in the whole film. Actually, I thought there was some really good bits of humour in
Yeah.
it.
It wasn't too over the top of what you
Wasn't
expected, but it was
cheesy.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked. Well, there was a little bit of the Wi-Fi password bit that's been in all the trailers. It was a little bit cheesy.
I like
But
I liked it.
Doctor Strange, but that was in one of the trailers as well.
Which bit?
Because
Yeah, it was.
there's been so many trailers for it. I had to stop watching it.
I liked the cloak as well when he gets the
Yes.
cloak. That was some really fun
Yeah,
bits with
it
the
was
cloak doing its stuff, and it was interesting seeing him interact with all this world that he's never seen before. And he sort of with his arrogance, he ran into a lot of things blindly, didn't he? Not knowing what was going to happen, then sort of fell foul of it as the world starts changing around him, and he's falling over and falling through things and into
The
things.
one gripe I had is, when he was trying to use the ring thing,
Yeah.
and she sent him away to Everest, and then he come back, and then all of a sudden he's using these gateways to go into the library, and he's sleeping while his other dimension self is reading books and stuff. There need to be a bit more of a montage.
I was
There
thinking
needs
the
to be
same
a bit more of a
thing.
build up.
And it made me think of Team America.
Yeah, it would
Doing
have
Rocky
been
House
montage.
montage. I felt it was a great. It did kind of. You made the assumption, didn't you? And well, that must be a few months later.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to tell you that, and it could have been with a
Exactly,
little montage just to take you on that journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only strange thing.
Because it went from them to him fighting that Khaleesi guy.
Not
Caecilius. And he was. You thought, oh, hang on, he's literally just learned how to use this ring thing, and then he's fighting the main bad guy.
Yeah.
He needs a bit more time here, so that kind of threw me a little bit.
Yeah, because he did suddenly just handle himself really well against someone.
Yeah.
Having watched one of his brethren who had been like there for ages, the gatekeeper of that particular sanctuary,
He was a master.
got butchered in seconds, and then Doctor Strange somehow managed to handle all three of them quite well, and even send a couple of them off on their journeys. That was a little bit odd, but I enjoyed those. I enjoyed the interactions back in the hospital that followed that as well. I think when he came out of when he was in the middle of the battle, and then he sort of dragged himself. He got himself back into the hospital, didn't he? He created himself a portal to get. Was it Christine Palmer, a character name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Rachel McAdams to help him heal himself. That was a really good bit. I thought that little bit of combat and that sort of fighting in the
It's quite inventive.
Yeah, that was quite clever. I enjoyed that. I thought the ending, this final battle.
I think the ending needed to be that way to set up the next film with the Mordo, the Baron Mordo, because he was all stern, do the rules, and he was using the time thing which he got told off for before to put everything right. So that made him go away and then become obviously the other after credits bit showed him attacking the guy who had his back fixed or was using magic to walk.
Tangborn was its name.
Yeah.
I thought the battle with Dormammu, when he went up there, I thought, how's this going to work? Because
I thought
this is supposed to be some sort of other plane being,
super being.
more than he excels being human. He's just more than everything we could imagine. How is he going to tackle him? And I thought they did quite well. I thought the idea that he didn't actually have to fight him or use powers. He kind of used a power to force the guy, and his intelligence to force the guy into a trap. That was really clever. I like that, and it was a bit Groundhog Day, wasn't it, for a few moments? And I did like the sort of, like you said, the way that then the whole film really, you watch that guy go from sort of complete and utter belief that Mordo. He goes.
We need to know these.
We should just have a list of the names
down. That I thought it was good how he starts the film very much of the faith. It's all about the faith, and then through the film he gradually gets broken. His belief is broken in the ancient one, and then he loses faith in that final conflict because of the way Doctor Strange manipulates the rules to win the battle, even though it had to be done. It was a bit odd. So, and quite interesting how they've twisted him, and now he's just got this sort of completely anti-sorcerer.
It made me laugh really though, because you got Doctor Strange using the time powers to move everything back, and he's like, "Oh, something's going to be, it's all going to go to hell because you've done this power." And I'm thinking, well, if he hadn't done it, the whole Earth would have been in the Dark Realm and it all gone to shit anyway. So,
What would you have preferred him to
yeah,
do?
exactly.
Yeah, and I think that was who you alluded to the after credits, of which there were 2. So if you are going to watch the film, there are 2.
That's the end.
Yeah, there's a
It's a Marvel film,
mid credit and then another one. I think there were people who walked out even before the first one.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen a Marvel movie before?
Noobs, aren't they?
Yeah, and actually that was one of the best bits. I thought that first, there were 2 post-credit sequences. I don't know what your thoughts were. I personally thought the first one was really good.
Yeah.
I was less bothered by the second one,
yeah.
although it kind of... So the first one was Doctor Strange and Thor.
Yeah.
He's got a beard now, big beard now, not just a bit of stubble. He's got a full-on beard now. That's what I'm modelling mine on. Of
course.
I'm growing my hair.
Not the people listening can
Grow my
see
hair.
that.
Grow my hair back. So I thought that was a really interesting. So it's basically Doctor Strange and Thor sitting in what looked like the New York sanctuary,
Yeah.
discussing tea, and we hear that Thor doesn't like tea, and then Doctor Strange sort of magically gives him what's the
More
name?
beer.
What's the name of those massive glasses? They've got a name. haven't they?
Tankard. Is it
Yeah,
Tankard?
there's another name there.
Small.
But anyway, it's a giant. It was more than a pint. It was a giant
Like a jug.
glass
Yeah.
of beer, and then very quickly Thor demolishes that while we're looking at Doctor Strange, and we cut back and it's almost empty. Then it refills magically. I thought it was really clever. That was the sort of fun bit, wasn't it? But they were discussing Loki and why
and looking
Thor.
for that as well.
Well, it
which
said
was-
Thor brought Loki back to Earth, which was the first sort of revelation,
Yeah.
wasn't it? So we know that there's going to be some of Ragnarok on Earth.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be in Asgard.
Because obviously at the end
Yeah.
of
I was
Thor,
also
Thor-
referring to him bringing
this is-
to Earth in the past films.
No, 'cause he doesn't bring him to Earth, he brings himself to Earth in the first ones. But this is, he specifically
But
asked for why he brought
inadvertently,
him
wasn't
back.
he just talking about... or maybe
No, because they were looking for his dad.
But he gives a lot.
He says,
he
why
gives
were
a
they-
lot of information to the third film, because obviously at the end of Thor 2, it was thought Loki was dead and everything was fine because Loki had taken over from his dad, and we don't know what happened.
But
to Loki.
we know that Loki was not dead, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Thor doesn't.
Yeah,
Thor didn't.
But he
So
must.
obviously he did in that bit because he was talking about
Well, there was
bringing
a big-
Loki to Earth.
There was a
for
big
the
piece
dad.
cut from Age of Ultron. Was it Age of Ultron? Yeah, it was Age of Ultron one where he went and got into a bath.
Yes.
And had a bit of a lightning shock. Well,
Yes.
there was a
That
big
was about
chunk of the
the
film
stage,
cut.
wasn't it?
Yeah, but he basically sees. He has a vision, doesn't he, of Asgard. So maybe in that vision of Asgard, he saw the truth about Odin and
I guess that'll come
and Loki.
Possibly.
Crossing.
But yeah, so we basically found out that he's brought Loki back to Earth. The reason is that they're looking for Odin. And I thought I don't know if you picked up on this or whether it was intentional, whether it was just me reading into the obviously Benedict Cumberbatch's previous characters, but the bit where that scene finishes where he seems accepting of the reason why Loki's back on Earth, and they're asking Doctor Strange to help him find Odin, I thought that was a massive nod to Sherlock. Did anyone else think it was a bit like asking the private investigator or the super sleuth to find your dad? He kind of stood up and sort of accepted the challenge in a very arrogant way, the way that
I don't think it was
Sherlock has done it before.
The way I seen it, Thor wasn't really there to ask him for help. He was just, I think, Doctor Strange had brought him in because he wanted to know, because he said he's got to keep a track of all the other dimensional beings. And it was a case of, well, I'm just going to offer my help. It's not the case that you're asking for help.
But did you not think the way he stood up? I don't know. It just felt like it felt like a Sherlock moment for me.
No.
Yeah, that was just
I've
me.
not seen Sherlock, so
Have you not watched Sherlock? Yeah. He's very arrogant the way he takes on his job and stuff. He likes to feel like he's the one who can help you do something.
that scene reminded me a lot of the end of, I think it was Iron Man, or maybe it was Avengers, where Tony Stark's talking with Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
That's the end of Iron Man 3, isn't
Was
it?
it Iron Man 3?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
he's almost like counselling.
Yeah.
Iron
It
Man.
kind of reminded me of that to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
something to hook.
Yeah.
Just like a little conversation.
I think what I did like was that it was quite, even though it was talking about setting up Ragnarok, which is supposed to be quite a big story from the comics, it's all about the destruction of Asgard. I thought it was quite interesting that it was quite light-hearted. It was nice to see Thor in a more light-hearted way again, because the first film really was a lot of humour in Thor,
Yeah.
and then it kind of lost that as some of the films went on. The humour kind of fell to the other characters, like the girl from Two Broke Girls, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
TV.
yes.
Yeah, they were playing a lot of the humour stuff, and Thor was to be really serious, and I didn't like that as much. Whereas this was quite nice to see. It was a continuation of that mini skit from the Civil War DVD where they've got him what he was doing during Civil War and that whole with his roommate in Australia. It was that continuation of the humour. I really liked that.
I love that so much.
Was it you and me that were discussing? I don't think it was actually. No, it wasn't. It was another person I was talking to about. There's been a huge internet demand for a cameo from Stan Lee, obviously we'll talk about that in a minute, to be in one of the Thor films, and they really want him to be a cleaner and to come into a room where the hammer is on the table and just to sort of pick it up very casually, so just underneath it and put it back down and stroll out.
That would be really good.
There's a massive call into it for that to be a little... you could see him doing that as well, because they are quite good at reacting to fans.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason why you couldn't drop that in somewhere, could there really? In an Avengers film or something, just walking in,
That would be fun.
hoisting the hammer up very casually, just underneath it, dropping it down and wandering off. That would be really
Or
good.
even just if they're stuck for an after credits thing, or 2 after credits as they're doing now, just have that as one of the after credits. I think that'd be funny.
They should. But then...
No different than the after credits of that duck one that was in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that was awful, really. I hate that one.
But he's a really odd character in the Marvel Universe, isn't he? And whether we'll see him again, I don't know. But maybe it'll just be in the Guardians after credits. Did you think Stan Lee's cameo was...
It was alright.
I thought it was alright. I thought it was
was
probably
over
one of
really
his
quick.
weakest.
Yeah.
They've had him in. It was over very quickly.
It wasn't as good as the Civil War one.
No.
Tony Stank.
Was it Deadpool when he's in the strip club?
Yes.
That
He
was
was the
quite
announcer,
funny.
wasn't he?
Yeah, that was quite funny. I think it was a more sort of subtle one this time, wasn't it? It was a little less blatant, but it was still quite clever. I still enjoyed it. And then the third after credits was setting up Doctor Strange 2, presumably.
Baron Mordo.
So what did you think of that one?
Well, it's obviously set up what the bad guy's going to be. Whether it's going to have Dormammu again, we shall see. Obviously, as I was talking to you from, if anyone remembers, the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, he was one of the bad guys in that, where he had like a cult. Mary Jane went to the cult and they were trying to get Dormammu's power back and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the second film.
Yeah, because it's not clear whether he's going to be whether he's going to have any desire to work with Dormammu or whether it's unless Dormammu
Well, he's got to have some
somehow
sort of...
promises the destruction of all sorcerers, because that seems to be his beef, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After that, after credits, then it obviously said at the very end, Doctor Strange will return, which I think we all knew he would. He's got to be. He's going to have at least another one of his own films, and then probably appear in a couple of the others. Sounds like he's going to be in Ragnarok. He's going to be in one of the Infinity Wars. He's already said that. I hope he's in Ragnarok now, because otherwise it seems like a really odd after credit. They're very good at keeping secrets, aren't they? So we haven't seen it. And I haven't read any other reactions on the internet. I'll be interested tomorrow to have a little flick through some of the websites that I typically read and see what other people think of that. Because especially those who are better informed about the comics, because it'd be interesting to see how much was missed. And there's a particular scene where is it the New York Sanctuary he gets the cape from?
Yes.
Cloak, sorry. When they were panning around the room and looking at all these artefacts, I was thinking, is there anything here that I should recognise?
Well, it picks up that urn, doesn't
it?
it? That's like glows on the top.
And he says, do you know how to use that?
Yeah, and he says, no, I'm sure that's got to be a reference to something.
Yeah, you reckon? I don't know. I mean, again, a lot of this stuff could either be Doctor Strange related or general Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. I was half expecting to see something quite blatant in there, but I wonder if it's more of a nod to the comics, if there was anything there at all.
Speaking of which, actually, something's just reminded me of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I think there was an urn on there, because that had like the wand of Watum that I mentioned as well. So I seem to remember, and I'd have to go back and watch it.
He never got a weapon either, did he? Early in the film, they said that the artifact would choose you when you were ready. He never got an artifact. Unless that was the cloak.
I think that was the cloak. They said, it chose you.
The cloak, it's picky, they said, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cloak was quite quirky. The cloak kind of reminded me of the magic carpet from Aladdin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of its sort of way it was pulling them around.
How it's
sort
got
of silent.
its own like personality in a way,
It was quite pushy there, and the carpet was quite pushy in Aladdin, wasn't it? It was quite funny. I'm sure there was no intention there to sort of link it to a Disney film, but maybe there was. It's all Disney now, isn't it?
Well, that's true, yeah. Link it to Disney.
It's all Disney. Overall, everyone enjoy it?
Yes.
Anything else that you sort of picked up on that you thought was worth mentioning? Can't think of anything else. I don't think there's anything else we haven't talked about really that stood out.
No, I think we've covered most things in that film.
Benedict Wong's character was alright. Thought he was okay.
Benedict Wong, was that one?
Yeah, the big guy.
Yeah, the librarian.
Yeah,
Librarian. He was very good.
Very good.
I really liked the scene actually with Beyonce, the Beyonce music on the
What he was
headphones,
listening to.
with the little hammers coming in, nicking the books and stuff. That was really clever.
Yeah.
But that reminded me of the scene from Guardians of the Galaxy when the guys were listening to Star-Lord's music on the cassette player. I know there's obviously no link, but it just reminded me of that scene. That was really funny. And just another link back to the humour, wasn't it? It was really good. Cool. Happy to call it a day then. Anything else to spoil? Spoiled everything we can.
I think we've done it in
I
all.
think we spoiled it enough.
Yeah.
Just go and watch it.
I agree. Yeah,
worth it.
I think,
Go watch it.
Yeah, well, they should have watched it if they're listening to the spoiler.
Well, then they might
You
have wanted
never
to
know.
spoil the
Well-
entire movie before going and checking it out. You don't
Some
know.
people like to know before they go.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
feel free to tweet your views as well if you've got them. Once
What's
you've
the
seen
Twitter handle,
film.
Chris?
You're about to say it, James. It's on your
I was
telephone.
trying to check if you knew what it was.
Yeah, Chris.
Oh, I know what it was, but you and me
Yeah,
this,
Chris.
It's at Boss Battle Net. So if you want to, you can tweet us at that. I'm sure
That's
you can follow
right,
it.
yeah.
Or you can email us at bossbattlenetwork@gmail.com if you've got anything you want us to talk about on the podcast, any questions, any comments, or if you just want to let us know you actually listen, because we know we have a few listeners in the Netherlands, which is nice, but we'd like a few more all around the world. So if you do listen, then get in touch. Otherwise, we'll call it a day there. Thanks very much, everyone, for your views, and we'll maybe see Vicky on a future podcast.
Hopefully.
As is now tradition. Good night.
It's so strange.